Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we are traveling thousands of years into the past, to a place where one of the greatest cities in history slowly emerged from quiet riverbanks and endless fields. This is the story of Babylon. Long before towering walls surrounded the city, before magnificent gates welcomed travelers, and before powerful kings ruled vast lands, Babylon was simply a peaceful settlement beside a gentle river. Its beginning was surprisingly humble. Instead of grand palaces, there were small mud brick homes. Instead of crowded markets, there were open fields where farmers patiently cared for crops beneath the warm Mesopotamian sun. As the evening breeze drifted across the Euphrates River, the first families built lives that would eventually shape the history of civilization. Tonight, we will slowly discover how Babylon was born, how ordinary people lived, and how a small village gradually transformed into one of the most famous cities the world has ever known. So settle comfortably, close your eyes if you'd like, and allow the ancient world to unfold, one peaceful moment at a time. Picture Prompt 1. Prompt: Cinematic ultra-realistic aerial view of ancient Mesopotamia at sunrise, the peaceful Euphrates River winding through green farmland, tiny mud brick village beside the river, golden morning mist, palm trees, birds flying over water, soft warm sunlight, historical accuracy, National Geographic documentary style, ultra-detailed, 8K, volumetric lighting, tranquil atmosphere, no modern objects, wide-angle composition. Subtopic 1.1a Quiet settlement beside the Euphrates voice script. Around 5,000 years ago, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers looked very different from today. There were no highways, no cities filled with millions of people, no engines, electricity, or towering buildings. Instead, the landscape stretched endlessly beneath brilliant blue skies. Every year, the rivers gently overflowed their banks, leaving behind rich layers of fertile soil. These floods transformed the dry land into excellent farmland. For early families searching for a place to settle, this was a gift unlike any other. The river offered everything they needed: fresh drinking water, fish for food, clay for making bricks, reeds for weaving baskets and building roofs, and fertile fields where wheat and barley could grow in abundance. Life followed the rhythm of nature. At sunrise, farmers walked quietly toward their fields. Children gathered water from the riverbanks. Women prepared grain for bread. Craftsmen shaped wet clay beneath the shade of simple shelters. The sounds were gentle. Birds sang across the marshes. Water flowed softly along the riverbanks. Wind rustled through tall reeds. Donkeys slowly carried baskets filled with crops. Everything moved at an unhurried pace. Although life required hard work, it was deeply connected to the seasons. People understood the importance of patience. Seeds planted today would become tomorrow's harvest. The river became more than a source of survival. It became the center of daily life. Festivals honored its gifts. Stories were told about its power. Children learned from an early age that without the Euphrates, there would be no village at all. No one living there could have imagined that this peaceful community would one day become Babylon. Picture Prompt 2. Peaceful ancient settlement beside the Euphrates River, mud brick cottages surrounded by wheat fields, farmers harvesting barley, women collecting water with clay jars, children playing near reeds, palm trees, crystal clear river reflecting golden sunlight, historically accurate Bronze Age Mesopotamia, cinematic realism, ultra-detailed, documentary photography, 8K. Subtopic 1.2 The first builder's voice script. Building a home in ancient Mesopotamia required patience rather than expensive materials. Stone was rare. Large forests were almost non-existent. Instead, people relied upon what nature freely provided. The riverbanks contained endless supplies of soft clay. Workers mixed this clay with straw and water. The mixture was pressed into wooden molds. Then the bricks were left beneath the hot sun for many days until they became strong enough for construction. These sun-dried mud bricks formed the walls of nearly every house. Homes were simple but practical. Most were built around open courtyards where fresh air could circulate during the long, hot summers. Families gathered there to prepare meals, weave cloth, repair tools, and rest together after sunset. Flat rooftops provided another place to sleep during warm nights beneath thousands of shining stars. As more families arrived, the settlement slowly expanded. Narrow pathways connected homes. Small workshops appeared. Potters carefully shaped bowls and jars. Carpenters crafted wooden doors and farming tools. Weavers produced baskets and clothing. Near the center of the settlement stood modest temples dedicated to local gods. These sacred places became gathering points where festivals, prayers, and community celebrations brought everyone together. The builders of this early village probably never imagined that generations later, their descendants would construct enormous palaces, massive city walls, and temples that amazed visitors from distant lands. Every great city begins with ordinary people doing ordinary work. Babylon was no different. Long before Babylon ruled the region, many other cities already flourished across Mesopotamia. Places like Ur and Kish were centers of trade, religion, and learning. Each city had its own ruler, its own temples, its own traditions. Sometimes these neighboring cities traded peacefully. Caravans carried grain, wool, copper, timber, precious stones, and fine pottery across dusty roads and winding rivers. At other times, they fought over farmland, water, or control of valuable trade routes. Power shifted constantly. One kingdom rose, another declined. Generations watched rulers come and go, while ordinary people continued planting fields, raising children, and honoring their gods. Babylon was still only a modest settlement during much of this period. Travelers passing nearby may hardly have noticed it. Few could have guessed its extraordinary future. Yet Babylon possessed one important advantage: its location. Situated near major rivers and growing trade routes, the settlement gradually welcomed merchants from distant regions. With every caravan that arrived, new ideas traveled alongside goods. Languages mixed. Craftsmanship improved. Knowledge spread. Little by little, the quiet village became larger. Its influence slowly expanded. Without dramatic announcements, without sudden miracles, Babylon patiently prepared for its remarkable future. History often remembers mighty empires, but every empire begins as a small community where ordinary people quietly build tomorrow. And Babylon was patiently waiting for its moment. As the centuries quietly passed, Babylon continued to grow. Its streets became busier. Its markets welcomed traders from distant lands. Its fields produced harvests that fed a steadily increasing population. Yet the land of Mesopotamia remained divided. Many cities still ruled themselves. Each kingdom had its own ambitions, its own army, and its own king. Sometimes neighboring rulers formed alliances. At other times, they fought long and exhausting wars over fertile farmland, river crossings, or important trade routes. For ordinary people, these conflicts often brought uncertainty. Farmers wondered whether they would harvest their crops in peace. Merchants hoped their journeys would remain safe. Families simply wished for stable lives. Then, around the 18th century BCE, a young ruler came to the throne of Babylon. His name was Hammurabi. At first, Babylon was only one kingdom among many. It was respected, but it was not yet the dominant power in Mesopotamia. Hammurabi, however, possessed remarkable patience. Rather than rushing into every conflict, he carefully watched the changing balance of power. He strengthened Babylon's defenses. He improved relationships with neighboring kingdoms. He expanded trade. And when the right opportunities appeared, he acted with determination. Over many years, Hammurabi gradually defeated rival kings and united much of Mesopotamia under Babylonian rule. For the first time, many cities that had once competed against each other became part of a single kingdom. This brought greater stability to many regions. Trade routes became safer. Farmers found it easier to transport grain. Craftsmen sold their goods to larger markets. Travelers could move between cities with fewer dangers than before. Babylon itself flourished. Its population grew larger. New homes appeared. Temples expanded. Workshops became busier than ever. People from many different cultures now lived within the kingdom. Different languages could be heard in the markets. Different customs blended together. Although life remained challenging by modern standards, many families enjoyed a period of relative peace and prosperity. Hammurabi understood that conquering land was only the beginning. Keeping such a large kingdom united required wisdom as well as strength. He believed that good government depended on fairness, order, and clear rules. This belief would soon lead to one of history's most famous achievements. But before those laws were carved into stone, Babylon had already transformed from a modest settlement into the heart of a growing empire. Its future had begun. Imagine living in a world where every town followed different rules. A disagreement in one village might be judged differently in another. Merchants traveling from city to city could never be certain which customs would apply. For a growing kingdom, this created confusion. Hammurabi believed that justice should be visible. It should be written down so that people could understand the laws that governed their lives. To achieve this, he ordered a collection of legal decisions to be carefully carved onto a tall stone monument. Today, historians know this collection as the Code of Hammurabi. The stone itself stood several meters high. Near its top, artists carved an image showing Hammurabi receiving authority from Shamash, the Babylonian god associated with justice and the sun. Below that image stretched hundreds of carefully written laws in cuneiform script. The code covered many parts of daily life. There were rules about buying and selling goods, rules concerning farming, rules protecting property, rules governing marriage and family responsibilities. There were also laws about wages, building houses, borrowing money, and resolving disputes between neighbors. Not every punishment seems fair by modern standards. Some penalties were extremely harsh. Others reflected the social differences that existed within Babylonian society. Yet the code represented something remarkable for its time. Instead of leaving every decision entirely to individual rulers, many legal expectations became publicly known. People could point to written laws rather than relying only on memory or tradition. Scribes carefully copied these laws onto clay tablets. Students studying to become officials learned them during their education. Judges referred to them when hearing difficult cases. The code also reminds us that ancient Babylon valued order. The kingdom depended upon cooperation. Farmers needed canals. Merchants needed safe roads. Builders needed clear agreements. Families needed recognized responsibilities. Rules helped keep this complex society functioning. Although thousands of years have passed since Hammurabi's reign, his code remains one of history's most famous legal documents. It offers a peaceful glimpse into the everyday concerns of people who lived nearly 4,000 years ago. With peace becoming more common and trade continuing to grow, Babylon entered a new chapter. The city expanded in every direction. More families arrived. More merchants settled within its walls. New craftsmen opened workshops. The sound of construction became part of everyday life. Builders worked patiently beneath the warm Mesopotamian sun. Thousands of mud bricks were shaped by hand. Each brick was carefully dried before becoming part of a house, temple, warehouse, or city wall. Construction never seemed to stop. One project led naturally to another. As Babylon grew, its rulers understood that a larger city required careful planning. Wide streets connected important districts. Canals carried fresh water throughout the city. These waterways also supplied farms beyond the walls, helping ensure reliable harvests. Engineers constantly repaired embankments and irrigation channels. Without them, life in Babylon would have been impossible. The city's defenses also became increasingly impressive. Massive walls surrounded Babylon. These walls protected homes, temples, workshops, and marketplaces from potential attacks. Large gates controlled who entered and left the city. Watchmen quietly observed travelers arriving from distant lands. Inside the walls, life remained surprisingly organized. Markets occupied central locations. Temples stood proudly above nearby buildings. Administrative offices recorded taxes, trade agreements, and harvests. Neighborhoods gradually developed their own identities. Some became known for pottery. Others specialized in weaving, metalworking, or trade. Every profession contributed something important to the growing city. As evening approached, smoke rose gently from cooking fires. Children played in narrow streets. Neighbors gathered in shaded courtyards to share meals and conversation. Musicians occasionally filled the air with soft melodies from ancient instruments. Babylon had become much more than a collection of buildings. It had become a living community where thousands of people worked together each day. Although even greater wonders would appear in later centuries, including magnificent gates, royal palaces, and legendary temples, the foundations were already being laid. Brick by brick, canal by canal, generation after generation, Babylon quietly prepared to become one of the greatest cities the ancient world would ever know. As Babylon continued to grow, its streets became the beating heart of the city. From the first light of dawn until the soft glow of evening, people filled the roads with quiet purpose. Farmers arrived carrying baskets of grain. Merchants carefully unpacked goods from distant lands. Craftsmen opened their workshops, ready to begin another day's work. Although Babylon was one of the largest cities of the ancient world, daily life followed a calm and familiar rhythm. Near the marketplaces, the smell of freshly baked barley bread drifted gently through the air. Bakers worked before sunrise, kneading dough by hand and placing flat loaves inside clay ovens. Families stopped to purchase warm bread before continuing with their day. Not far away, potters patiently shaped wet clay on spinning wheels. With steady hands, they created bowls, jars, cups, and storage vessels that would soon be used in homes across the city. Nearby, blacksmiths heated copper and bronze inside glowing furnaces. The ringing sound of hammers striking metal echoed softly through the streets as tools, farming equipment, and decorative objects slowly took shape. Weavers sat beneath shaded courtyards, carefully turning wool and flax into colorful fabrics. Some embroidered beautiful patterns for wealthy families, while others produced simple clothing for ordinary workers. The marketplace itself was a fascinating meeting place. Merchants displayed baskets filled with dates, onions, figs, lentils, garlic, and fresh vegetables harvested from nearby farms. Others sold fragrant oils, woven baskets, carved wooden furniture, jewelry made from lapis lazuli and carnelian, and finely crafted pottery. Some traders had traveled hundreds of miles. Their caravans crossed deserts, mountains, and rivers, bringing cedar wood from Lebanon, precious stones from distant lands, copper from Oman, and fine textiles from neighboring kingdoms. With every traveler came new stories. Different languages mixed together in the marketplace. Children watched with curiosity as unfamiliar goods appeared on market stalls. Even animals played an important role in the busy streets. Donkeys patiently carried sacks of grain. Oxen pulled heavy carts filled with bricks and timber. Goats wandered quietly beside their owners. Although the city seemed lively, there was also a sense of order. Scribes carefully recorded business agreements on clay tablets. Officials collected taxes. Guards watched over important gates. Temple priests moved peacefully between sacred buildings. As the afternoon sun slowly lowered toward the horizon, the pace of the city gently softened. Shopkeepers packed away their goods. Families returned home carrying food for the evening meal. Smoke curled upward from cooking fires. The sounds of conversation gradually replaced the noise of commerce. For another day, Babylon had completed its quiet cycle of work, trade, and community. For the people of Babylon, every part of life was connected to the divine. The rising sun, the flowing rivers, the changing seasons, even successful harvests were believed to reflect the blessings of the gods. Among all the deities worshipped in Babylon, one stood above the others. His name was Marduk. Over time, Marduk became the chief god of Babylon and the symbol of the city's strength and protection. His great temple, known as Esagila, stood proudly within the city. Its towering walls reminded everyone of the close relationship between heaven and earth. Each morning, priests quietly entered the temple before sunrise. They cleaned the sacred rooms. They lit fragrant incense. They presented offerings of bread, fruit, dates, oil, and sweet-smelling herbs. These rituals were not performed out of fear alone. They were expressions of gratitude and respect. The Babylonians believed that maintaining harmony with the gods helped preserve balance throughout the kingdom. Festivals brought the entire city together. One of the most important celebrations was the Akitu festival, held each spring. For several days, music filled the streets. Priests carried sacred statues through Babylon in grand processions. Citizens gathered to celebrate the beginning of another year and to pray for peace, healthy harvests, and prosperity. Religion also shaped everyday decisions. Before beginning major building projects, priests often performed ceremonies seeking divine guidance. Families offered prayers before important journeys. Parents asked the gods to watch over their children. Merchants hoped for safe travels. Farmers prayed for gentle rains and abundant crops. The night sky itself inspired wonder. Babylonian priests carefully observed the stars, believing that heavenly movements carried messages from the gods. Their careful observations would later contribute to remarkable advances in astronomy. To modern eyes, some beliefs may seem unfamiliar, yet they remind us of something timeless. Across every civilization, people have searched for meaning beyond themselves. They have looked toward the sky, listened to nature, and hoped that unseen forces were guiding the world with quiet wisdom. As evening settled over Babylon, temple lamps flickered softly against the darkening sky. The scent of incense drifted gently through the streets, and the city rested beneath the watchful stars. The day slowly comes to an end. The bright desert sun sinks beyond the western horizon. Long shadows stretch across Babylon's streets. The busy marketplace grows quieter. Merchants carefully cover their goods. Craftsmen place their tools aside. Children finish their games and return home with smiling faces. From hundreds of homes, gentle columns of smoke rise into the evening air. Families prepare simple meals of fresh bread, vegetables, fish, dates, and warm stews. The comforting aroma drifts through narrow streets. Inside peaceful courtyards, relatives gather together. Grandparents tell stories passed down through many generations. Parents speak about the day's work. Children listen carefully, imagining heroes, kings, wise animals, and distant lands beyond the great rivers. Oil lamps begin to glow inside homes. Their gentle light dances across mud brick walls. Outside, the air becomes cooler. Many families climb onto their flat rooftops. There, they enjoy the evening breeze after the day's heat. Above them, thousands of stars slowly appear. Without modern lights, the heavens seem brighter than we can easily imagine today. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a silver river. Babylonian astronomers quietly study the stars from temple rooftops. They record the movement of planets. They watch the phases of the moon. They patiently note every eclipse and every unusual event in the heavens. For them, the night sky is both beautiful and meaningful. Meanwhile, along the Euphrates River, fishermen gently secure their boats. Water flows peacefully beneath the moonlight. Palm trees sway softly in the evening breeze. The sounds of birds gradually fade. Only the quiet murmur of flowing water remains. The great city rests. Tomorrow its markets will once again become lively. Builders will continue their work. Farmers will return to the fields. Merchants will welcome travelers from distant kingdoms. But tonight, Babylon sleeps. Its walls stand silent beneath countless stars. Its temples glow softly in the darkness. Its people dream peacefully beside one of history's greatest rivers. And as we quietly leave this ancient city behind for now, we carry with us the memory of its humble beginnings, a small riverside settlement that grew, generation by generation, into one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known. May its quiet story stay with you, as the sounds of the Euphrates fade gently into the night, and you drift peacefully into sleep. As the first light of dawn slowly spreads across the horizon, Babylon begins another peaceful day. The sky glows with soft shades of gold and pale blue as the sun rises over the mighty Euphrates River. A cool morning breeze moves gently through the palm trees, carrying with it the scent of fresh earth and flowing water. Long before the streets become crowded, the city is already awake. From flat mud brick rooftops, families begin to stir after sleeping beneath the stars during the warm summer night. Children rub the sleep from their eyes while parents quietly prepare for another day of work. The sounds of the city arrive gradually. A rooster calls in the distance. Donkeys shuffle patiently through narrow streets. Birds gather near the riverbanks, filling the morning air with soft songs. Nearby, the gentle crackling of cooking fires signals the beginning of breakfast. Inside simple homes built around open courtyards, women carefully grind barley and wheat using heavy stone mills. The rhythmic sound of grinding grain has echoed through Babylon for generations. Fresh dough is shaped into flat rounds and baked inside clay ovens. The warm aroma of newly baked bread drifts through the neighborhood. For many families, breakfast is modest but nourishing. Fresh bread, dates picked from nearby palm trees, figs, olives, goat's milk, sometimes a little honey if the family is fortunate. Meals are simple, yet every bite reflects the hard work of many hands. As the sun climbs higher, each member of the household begins their daily responsibilities. Farmers leave through the city gates toward fields fed by irrigation canals. Merchants unlock their market stalls. Potters arrange fresh clay beside their wheels. Metal workers prepare their furnaces. Scribes gather their clay tablets and sharpen their reed styluses before beginning another day's careful writing. Children also have important roles. Some accompany parents to the fields. Others help fetch water from public wells or the Euphrates itself. Older children may begin learning trades that have remained within their families for generations. Those fortunate enough to study attend scribal schools, where they patiently practice writing the wedge-shaped symbols known as cuneiform. The streets slowly become livelier. Neighbors greet one another warmly. Caravans arrive through the city gates carrying goods from distant lands. Temple priests begin the day's first ceremonies. Smoke rises from countless kitchens as Babylon comes fully to life. Yet despite its size and importance, the city still moves with a gentle rhythm. Life follows the rising and setting of the sun, the changing seasons, the annual floods of the Euphrates, and the traditions passed carefully from one generation to the next. For the people of Babylon, every sunrise is both familiar and precious. Another day has been given, another opportunity to work, to learn, to trade, to worship, and to build a future for their families within one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. Although Babylon was home to thousands of people, not every family lived in the same way. Some enjoyed comfortable homes filled with beautiful furniture and carefully crafted decorations. Others lived much more simply. Yet whether rich or poor, most Babylonian houses shared a common design that reflected the climate of Mesopotamia. From the outside, many homes appeared plain. Their walls were built from sun-dried mud bricks, with few windows facing the busy streets. This simple design protected families from the intense summer heat while also providing privacy. Stepping inside, visitors would discover a peaceful open courtyard at the center of the house. Here, sunlight filled the space during the day while fresh air moved gently through every room. Children played safely within these courtyards. Meals were prepared. Clothing was woven. Neighbors visited to share stories and news. Around the courtyard stood several small rooms. One might be used for sleeping, another for storing grain. Others held tools, pottery, baskets, or valuable possessions. Furniture was usually simple: wooden stools, low tables, woven reed mats, clay storage jars. Comfort came not from luxury but from thoughtful design. During hot summer evenings, many families climbed onto their flat rooftops. There they enjoyed cool breezes and often slept beneath the open sky, watching countless stars slowly appear overhead. Wealthier citizens lived in much larger houses. Some had 2 stories. Their walls were carefully plastered and decorated. Colorful rugs covered the floors. Fine wooden furniture stood inside spacious rooms. Jewelry, imported pottery, carved ivory, and bronze decorations reflected their prosperity. Servants often helped with household tasks. Even so, these homes still centered around quiet courtyards where families gathered together. The king's palace, of course, was on an entirely different scale. Large halls welcomed important visitors. Administrative offices recorded taxes and trade. Storehouses protected valuable supplies. Beautiful gardens provided peaceful places for rest. Despite these differences in wealth, one thing united nearly everyone in Babylon. Home was more than shelter. It was the center of family life. It was where traditions were passed from parents to children, where meals were shared, where stories were told by the gentle light of oil lamps, and where each day quietly began and ended. Food was at the center of daily life in Babylon. Every meal reflected the seasons, the fertile land, and the generous waters of the Euphrates River. Unlike modern supermarkets filled with foods from around the world, Babylonian families relied mostly on what they could grow, catch, or trade nearby. Their most important food was bread. Barley and wheat grew abundantly in the fertile fields surrounding the city. After harvest, the grain was carefully dried, stored, and ground into flour using large stone mills. From this flour, families baked many kinds of flatbread each day. Fresh bread accompanied nearly every meal. Dates were another treasured food. Towering date palms lined canals and riverbanks throughout Mesopotamia. Their sweet fruit could be eaten fresh, dried for storage, or turned into syrup used to sweeten many dishes. Figs, grapes, pomegranates, apples, and melons also appeared during different seasons. Vegetables filled everyday meals. Onions, garlic, lentils, chickpeas, beans, cucumbers. These simple foods provided important nourishment for ordinary families. The Euphrates River offered another valuable resource. Fishermen cast woven nets into the slow-moving water each morning. Fresh fish became an important source of protein for many households. Those who owned sheep or goats enjoyed milk, cheese, and occasionally meat during festivals or special celebrations. Wealthier citizens had access to a wider variety of foods. Roasted lamb, duck, goose, imported spices, fine oils, fresh fruits brought by merchants from distant lands. Large banquets displayed the prosperity of Babylon's upper classes. One of the most common drinks was beer. Unlike many modern varieties, Babylonian beer was thick, nutritious, and made from fermented barley. It was enjoyed by men and women alike and often consumed through long reeds that filtered out bits of grain. Clean drinking water remained essential, especially during the hot Mesopotamian summers. Meals were usually eaten together. Families gathered in quiet courtyards, sitting on woven mats around low tables. They shared bread by hand, passed bowls from one person to another, spoke about the day's work, listened to stories told by elders, and enjoyed the simple comfort of eating together. Though their food may seem modest by today's standards, Babylonian meals reflected a deep connection with the land. Every loaf of bread depended upon fertile soil, every date upon healthy palm trees, every fish upon the flowing river. Their meals reminded them each day that nature's gifts were precious and should never be taken for granted. As the morning sun climbed higher above Babylon, the city filled with people dressed in garments that reflected both the warm climate and the traditions of their society. Unlike modern wardrobes filled with countless styles, Babylonian clothing was practical, comfortable, and carefully crafted by skilled hands. Every thread began with nature. Sheep provided soft wool. Flax plants supplied fibers that could be woven into linen. Women spent many hours spinning thread by hand before weaving it into cloth on large wooden looms. The process required remarkable patience. Each piece of fabric represented days, and sometimes weeks, of careful work. Most ordinary men wore knee-length tunics made from wool or linen. These garments were loose enough to allow comfortable movement during long hours in the fields or busy workshops. A simple belt gathered the fabric around the waist. Some workers preferred lighter clothing during the hottest months of summer. Women usually wore long dresses that reached their ankles. The dresses were often wrapped around the body and fastened neatly over one shoulder. Many garments featured delicate fringes or decorative borders woven directly into the cloth. Although simple by today's standards, these details reflected the pride people took in their appearance. The wealthy dressed quite differently. Fine linen imported through trade was softer and lighter than ordinary fabrics. Noble families wore beautifully embroidered robes decorated with colorful patterns. Some garments included dyed fabrics in shades of blue, red, green, or deep purple, colors that were expensive and difficult to produce. Jewelry was treasured throughout Babylon. Both men and women enjoyed wearing necklaces, bracelets, rings, and earrings crafted from gold, silver, copper, and polished gemstones. Lapis lazuli, with its rich blue color, was especially admired. Carnelian, agate, turquoise, and shells imported from distant regions were also popular. Hairstyles reflected care and attention. Many men grew long beards, carefully trimmed and sometimes curled into neat rows. Their hair was often scented with fragrant oils made from flowers and herbs. Women braided their hair into elegant styles or gathered it beneath decorative head coverings. Perfumes made from myrrh, cedar oil, and aromatic plants added pleasant scents during religious ceremonies and important celebrations. Footwear remained simple. Leather sandals protected feet from the hot streets. Some laborers walked barefoot while working in muddy fields or near irrigation canals. Although clothing could reveal a person's occupation or social position, everyone shared one important belief. Clean, well-made garments reflected respect for oneself, for one's family, and for the community. As Babylon's markets grew busier throughout the day, colorful fabrics gently swayed in the breeze, reminding visitors that even ordinary clothing carried the artistry of countless skilled hands. To understand Babylon, we must also understand the women who helped shape its daily life. Their contributions could be found everywhere. Inside family homes, within busy marketplaces, in temple courtyards, and sometimes even in matters of business and law. Much of each day centered around the household. Women prepared meals from freshly milled grain. They baked bread in clay ovens. They cared for children and elderly relatives. Water was collected from wells or the Euphrates River. Clothing was woven and repaired with remarkable skill. Homes were cleaned and organized with great care. These daily responsibilities required knowledge, patience, and hard work. Yet many Babylonian women also worked beyond the home. Some sold food, pottery, perfumes, or woven cloth in the markets. Others became skilled weavers whose beautiful textiles were traded across Mesopotamia. Temple workers prepared offerings and assisted priests during important ceremonies. Historical records carved into clay tablets reveal something remarkable. Some women owned property. Others inherited land. Some signed legal agreements. A few even managed businesses or lent money to merchants. Although Babylonian society was largely led by men, the law recognized certain rights for women, particularly regarding inheritance, marriage contracts, and family property. Marriage itself was considered an important partnership between families. Ceremonies often included written agreements that outlined responsibilities and protected property. These contracts were carefully recorded by scribes using cuneiform writing. Family remained at the center of Babylonian life. Parents worked together to raise children. Grandparents often lived nearby, sharing stories and passing down practical knowledge. Skills such as weaving, cooking, farming, and craftsmanship moved naturally from one generation to the next. Life was not always easy. Long days of physical labor were common. Summer heat could be intense. Floods sometimes threatened harvests. Illness remained difficult to treat. Yet families supported one another through both joyful and difficult times. Although history often remembers kings and armies, everyday Babylon depended upon countless women whose quiet work sustained households, educated children, preserved traditions, and strengthened communities. Their names may rarely appear in history books, but their influence reached every corner of the city. Every great civilization begins with its children. Babylon was no different. Long before they became farmers, merchants, priests, or scribes, the youngest citizens of Babylon spent their days learning about the world around them. Morning often began with helping their families. Some carried small baskets of grain. Others gathered firewood or helped feed goats, sheep, and chickens. Older children accompanied parents to nearby fields or workshops, where they slowly learned the skills that would shape their futures. Learning happened through observation. A young potter watched experienced craftsmen shape wet clay into graceful bowls. The child of a weaver learned how threads became colorful cloth. The son of a farmer discovered when to plant barley and how to guide water through irrigation canals. Every task became a lesson. Despite their responsibilities, children also found time to play. Archaeologists have uncovered clay dolls, miniature carts, spinning tops, toy animals, and small balls made from leather or woven reeds. Simple games brought laughter to quiet courtyards. Friends raced through narrow streets. They invented games using pebbles, sticks, and imagination. The riverbanks offered endless opportunities for exploration. Children watched birds gather among the reeds. They collected smooth stones. They observed fishermen casting their nets into the Euphrates. Nature itself became a classroom. Some children were fortunate enough to attend scribal schools. There, they learned one of the ancient world's most challenging skills, writing. Teachers pressed wedge-shaped symbols into soft clay tablets. Students copied each sign again and again until their hands moved with confidence. Lessons included mathematics, reading, law, religion, and record-keeping. Becoming a scribe required years of dedication, but it also opened the door to respected careers within government, temples, and commerce. Parents hoped their children would grow into honest, hard-working adults. Respect for elders, kindness toward neighbors, and responsibility within the family were values taught from an early age. As evening approached, children's work came to an end. They gathered with parents beneath the cool evening sky. Stories filled the night. Ancient legends, heroic kings, wise animals, the adventures of gods and distant lands. Perhaps, as they drifted toward sleep beneath the brilliant stars of Mesopotamia, they dreamed of the futures waiting for them beyond the walls of Babylon. And like children everywhere, they carried within them the hopes of the next generation. As Babylon grew into one of the most influential cities of the ancient world, knowledge became one of its greatest treasures. Long before books were printed on paper, long before libraries filled with shelves of bound volumes, the people of Babylon had already developed an extraordinary way to record ideas. Their writing system was called cuneiform, a word that means wedge-shaped. Instead of ink and paper, Babylonian scribes used soft clay tablets. They held a small reed stylus in their hands and gently pressed tiny wedge-shaped marks into the damp clay. Every symbol had meaning. Some represented words. Others represented sounds. Together, they formed one of humanity's earliest writing systems. Learning cuneiform was not easy. A single student might spend years memorizing hundreds of symbols. Only those with great patience and determination completed their training. Children who attended scribal schools often came from families who hoped their sons, and in some cases daughters, would one day serve in temples, royal offices, or important businesses. The school itself was simple. Students sat on woven mats or low stools. Each child received a lump of fresh clay. Teachers demonstrated symbols one by one. The students carefully copied them, smoothing the clay and beginning again whenever mistakes appeared. Lessons lasted many hours. Silence often filled the room, interrupted only by the gentle scratching of reed styluses pressing into clay. Writing was only one part of the education. Students also studied mathematics. They learned how to calculate harvests, measure land, record taxes, and manage trade accounts. Some copied famous stories and religious hymns. Others practiced writing legal contracts and business agreements. Because scribes were trusted with important information, honesty and accuracy were highly valued. A single mistake could change the meaning of a contract or the amount of grain owed in taxes. Finished tablets were dried in the sun. Important documents were sometimes baked in kilns until they became as hard as stone. Thousands of these clay tablets have survived for more than 3,000 years. They tell us about ordinary families, merchants, kings, festivals, and even children's homework. Thanks to these careful scribes, voices from ancient Babylon still speak to us today. Each small wedge pressed into clay became a message carried across the centuries. It is a quiet reminder that even the simplest record can preserve history for generations yet to come. Life in ancient Babylon brought many joys, but it also brought illness and injury. Without modern hospitals or advanced medical technology, healing depended upon careful observation, experience, and deep traditions passed from one generation to the next. Babylonian healers believed that good health required harmony between the body, the mind, and the spiritual world. When someone became ill, families often sought help from two different kinds of specialists. The first was a physician, who treated physical illnesses using practical knowledge gathered over many years. The second was a spiritual healer or priest, who performed prayers and rituals intended to restore balance. Many medicines came directly from nature. Herbs collected from riverbanks, leaves from local plants, honey, dates, tree resins, minerals. These natural ingredients were carefully mixed into drinks, ointments, or poultices. Some treatments soothed wounds. Others eased pain or reduced fever. Although not every remedy was effective, many reflected centuries of careful observation. Cleanliness also mattered. Fresh water from the Euphrates was used to wash wounds. Bandages made from woven linen protected injured skin. Simple surgical procedures, though limited, were sometimes performed by experienced healers. Clay tablets discovered by archaeologists contained surprisingly detailed medical instructions. They described symptoms, possible causes, and recommended treatments. Some tablets even list dozens of medicinal plants known to Babylonian physicians. Not all illnesses could be explained. Diseases without obvious causes were sometimes believed to involve unseen spiritual forces. Prayers, offerings, and protective amulets were often used alongside physical treatments. For Babylonian families, there was no conflict between medicine and faith. Both were seen as important parts of healing. Midwives also played an essential role. They cared for mothers during childbirth and helped welcome new life into the community. Their experience, gained through many years of practice, made them highly respected members of society. Although medicine has advanced enormously since Babylon's time, these ancient healers shared something familiar with modern doctors. They wished to relieve suffering, to comfort families, and to help people recover whenever possible. Their knowledge, carefully recorded on clay tablets, became one of the earliest chapters in the long history of medical science. The day slowly draws to a close. The golden light of the setting sun fades beyond Babylon's western walls. Warm colors spread across the sky, reflecting softly upon the gentle waters of the Euphrates River. The city's busy streets gradually become peaceful. Market stalls stand empty. The last merchants return home. Craftsmen extinguish the glowing fires of their workshops. Farmers finish tending their animals before closing simple wooden gates. Even the donkeys, so busy throughout the day, now rest quietly beside their shelters. Along the riverbanks, fishermen pull their small wooden boats onto the shore. Their nets, heavy with the day's catch, are carefully folded for tomorrow's journey. Palm trees sway gently in the evening breeze. The air becomes cooler. Families gather in open courtyards or climb onto flat rooftops where fresh air offers relief from the summer heat. Simple evening meals are shared. Fresh bread, dates, fish, vegetables, perhaps a small cup of barley beer. Children listen quietly as grandparents tell stories of wise kings, brave heroes, mysterious creatures, and the powerful gods who watch over Babylon. Laughter rises softly into the night before gradually giving way to peaceful silence. Nearby, musicians play gentle melodies using lyres, harps, and reed flutes. The music drifts slowly across narrow streets, blending with the quiet murmur of flowing water. Temple priests finish the final ceremonies of the day. Oil lamps flicker inside sacred halls. The sweet scent of incense lingers in the evening air. Above the city, the stars appear one by one. Without modern lights, the heavens shine with breathtaking clarity. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a silver ribbon. Babylonian astronomers quietly climb temple rooftops. They watch the movement of planets. They carefully record the phases of the moon. Every observation becomes another piece of knowledge passed down through future generations. As midnight approaches, Babylon grows almost completely silent. The mighty city rests beneath a blanket of stars. Its towering walls stand peacefully. Its temples glow faintly beneath the moonlight. The Euphrates continues its timeless journey, flowing gently past homes, gardens, and ancient stones. The same river that welcomed Babylon's first settlers still whispers softly through the darkness. And as the cool night breeze carries those gentle sounds across the sleeping city, we too leave Babylon for now. Its quiet streets, its welcoming homes, its hard-working families, and its endless river remain waiting beneath the stars, peaceful and timeless, until the first light of another ancient morning.